pitong taon na pala natin. Dapat sabbatical po. And I very much appreciate your patient attention. And as we come to the third session, pinag-uusapan natin in the first session, the validity, in fact, the necessity of confessions. And then in the second session, we looked at the fruitful period of creeds and confessions during the Reformation. Now, we will address what to me is one goal that I have in addressing this conference, na ma-adapt natin ang isa sa aking kalagay ay kinasangkapan ng Panginoon na confession of faith. You know, in our country, we have our Constitution which was ratified in 1987. Since then, there have been attempts for charter change or amendments, but so far none has succeeded. If you ask me, it indeed is right for change. Maraming changes na kailangan para maging updated ang ating Constitution, but it's still there, and it's still guiding all lawmaking, dahil anything that is to be passed as law must not be unconstitutional. Now, sa history ng simbahan Baptist at Reform, isang confession ang naging saligan, naging kasangkapan para panindigan at isulong ang pananampalataya ito. And this is what we will consider in this last session. This is the 1689 Baptist Confession of Faith. At meron pong act yan, kung gusto nyong download sa inyong cellphone, I have one. And that is a very easy reference para sa namausapin ang paniniwala. Meron ding handbook ito. Ito po yan, 1689 London Baptist Confession of Faith. Again, very cheap, very affordable, and it will always be profitable na meron kang handa na reference when you are asked questions or you have questions of your own. Ay magandang nariyan yan. Now, a little history of the confession. Tandaan natin, the Baptists have suffered long years of persecution because they were non-conformist. Ibig sabihin, merong state church at sino man ang hindi sumasang-ayon sa state church ay bawal noon because most of the European societies were sacerdotal, meaning meron silang defined religion at inaakala nila para sa ikabubuti ng lipunan, wala dapat sumalungat sa kanilang pinatadhana na relihiyon. So state churches, Church of England in England, still a state church. So noon, ang mga Baptists ay sumama sa mga reformers, and because of that, they were persecuted by Catholics. Now, once reformers ascended to power in their own societies, like in Germany, ay sila naman ang nag-persecute sa mga Baptists because Baptists remained non-conformist even in Protestant realms. Sa mga lipunan na protestante na namumuno, hindi pa rin tinatanggap ang mga Baptists. So Baptists were persecuted, but they tried to make their own confession of faith, and this was in 1677. They did not make it public because they were under persecution. And then William of Orange became King of England in what was known in 1688 as the Glorious Revolution. And in 1689, one of his first acts was to proclaim the Act of Toleration. Kaya ang mga Baptists malaya na ngayon na inabas ang kanilang paniniwala, and so they called for an assembly. More than 100 churches were represented. These are Baptist churches. More than 100 of them were represented, and they adopted the 1677 confession that at that time was still not public, but they adopted the 1677 confession by Baptists, and they also added scriptures in order to show the biblical premise and basis of their beliefs, and thus we have the 1689 Baptist Confession of Faith. Tandaan natin na ang talagang original niya, 1677, but made public and adopted by more than 100 Baptist churches in England in the year 1689. Now, take note of the two Protestant approaches to Reformation. At dito natin makikita, ma-appreciate kung saan umiiba ang mga Baptists. The magisterial Reformation are those who believe that Reformation should be pushed and pursued with the aid, with the partnership of the government, the magisterial, magistrate. They believe that the magistracy ang mga namamahala sa lipunan ay katambal ng simbahan sa pagsusulong ng Reformasyon. Now, the radical reformers did not believe that Reformation should be in partnership with government. They see the government as an agency of God in common grace, whereas the church is an institution established by Christ for saving grace. So walang pagtatambalan ang pamahalaan dapat sa simbahan o sa iglesia. So they reject state church. At magiging totoo ito when the Pilgrim Fathers crossed the Atlantic to establish their own society in America, which they called then New England. Nang sila'y mag-a-adapt na ng Constitution, naisip nila, gawa rin tayo ng state church, kagaya sa pinanggalingan nila sa Europa, sa England. At nung nag-iisip sila, which church among many should they adopt a state church? Ang pinili ng mga founding fathers ay Baptist Church. Dahil silang marami. But it was the Baptists themselves who refused. Ayaw nila na maging simbahang estado ng lipunan ng Amerika. So they rejected the concept of a Christian magistrate. And of course, one other difference was the constitution of the church. The magisterial reformers believed that the church should be composed of Christians and their children. We will see more of that in a while. Whereas the radical reformers believe that the constitution of the church should be of regenerate people and they alone should be baptized. So, tingnan natin sa preface ng Confession ng 1689 ang kanilang layunin. Sinabi nila, this we did, the more abundantly to manifest our consented both, yung both yan, ay ang Westminster Confession ng mga Presbyterians at ang Savoy Declaration ng mga Congregationalists. Sinasabi nila, pinapakita namin ang pagsang-ayon namin sa mga confession na nauna ng Westminster and Savoy. So, in all the fundamental articles of the Christian religion, as also with many others, whose Orthodox confessions have been published to the world on behalf of the Protestant in diverse nations and cities, and also to convince all that we have no itch to plug religion with new words, but to readily acquiesce in the form of sound words which have been in consent with the Holy Scriptures. So, isang layunin nila ay ipakita ang pagsang-ayon nila sa mga kapwa nila Kristiyano na reformed din ang kanilang theology. So they are showing their consent, but then they add, in those things wherein we differ from others, we have expressed ourselves with all candor and plainness, that none might entertain jealousy of aught secretly lodged in our breasts, that we would not the world should be acquainted with. Yet, we hope we have also observed those rules of modesty and humility, as we render our freedom in this respect inoffensive, even those whose sentiments are different from ours. Let me hinahangaan po rito the very decent language, even when they have to differ, even when they have to make a distinction between themselves and other communities of believers. You can see, hindi nila gusto na basta makatisod, manakit, magbintang, mag-condemn. They just want to acquaint the world where they stand. And sometimes it will be with a difference from other Christians. So, to summarize the rationale for the 1689 Convention, unang-una, the Baptists were showing their union with other Reformed Christians. Napakahalaga nito. Hindi tayo gumagawa ng ating confession bilang condemnation ng iba. We must first show we are united with all followers of Christ. We do not intend to so separate ourselves so that the rest who do not belong with us are condemned. Hindi ganoon. There must be real Catholicity. I'm using the word Catholicity with a small c in the Catholic Church. Catholicity means universal. We join with the universal community of the people of God, the universal church, and that was one thing the 1689 Confession does. Pero kung magbabasa ka, familiar ka sa Westminster Confession, Savoy Declaration, at papasahin mo ang 1689 Confession of Faith, sasabihin mo, ng opya. Kasi malalaking blocks ng Westminster ay duplicated verbatim in the 1689 Confession. Hindi ito dahil pangungopya, kundi na gusto nga nila ipakita, sumasang-ayon sila sa mga kapwa nila Reformed Christians during that period. And that is always a noble goal. Kapag merong ibang Kristiyano, na totoong Kristiyano, sabihin man natin, charismatic yan, o iba ang kanilang paniniwala, even if they are Arminians, huwag mong unahan na Calvinist ako, Arminian ka, Reform ako, ganito ka. Ang unang-una, we are all followers of Christ. You call upon the Lord Jesus as I do. Therefore, before our differences, we must show how we are united and are together under the Lordship of Christ. So that was their goal, and on that point, I think they succeeded very well. Dahil kitang-kita na hanggat maaari hindi sila iiba, i-reproduce nila ang statement ng Westminster or Savoy Declaration. So, they followed the Westminster Confession of the Presbyterians, adopted in 1647, and also the Savoy Declaration of the Congregationalists, which was published in 1658. But they were also trying to distinguish themselves from emerging hyper-Calvinism. Yung very common ito. Kapag nakaroon ng resurgence ng Reformed theology, marami ang parang pendulum mula sa gitna ay tutungo sa dulong kanan o dulong kaliwa. Nangyayari yan ngayon. We are seeing the resurgence of Reformed theology because of the influence of people like Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones. Pero ngayon may mga pumupunta sa extreme. And this also happened in the 17th century. This is the reason why the Baptists had to reproduce the confession of faith in order that their Reformed conviction should not be distorted because of the hyper-Calvinists. So sa kanilang pinunto, they affirm God's love for all mankind. Now the hyper-Calvinists of that period were simply saying God has no love for the non-elect. He only has wrath against the non-elect, and God's love is only for the elect. And the Baptists of the 1689 Confession considered that a great distortion of the revelation of God's love for all mankind. That's why sinabi ng Luke 6, He sends the rain to the just and to the unjust. He does good even to the unthankful. So tayong bumigay sa tendency to extreme pagdating sa mga dakilang katotohanan like election. There still is God's love for all His scriptures, and we should affirm that. But at the same time, they distinguish God's love for His elect. So totoong may love that leads to salvation for those whom God has chosen. So you can see that this is really reformed, but not reformed of the type that dismisses the love of God for all mankind. And isa pang mahalaga, they extended God's offer of the gospel to all. Isa ito sa mga pinagtalunan in the 18th century, at kaya lumabas ang aklat ni Andrew Fuller na the gospel worthy of all acceptation, at ang kanyang pinagtatanggol doon, God is extending His invitation to all. Ang hyper-Calvinist, ang sinasabi nila, you can only invite those whom God has chosen. And because you do not know in a mixed congregation who the chosen ones are, they better restrain invitation. Huwag kang mag-indiscriminately invite to come to Christ. Yan ang sinasabi ng mga hyper-Calvinists. But as Andrew Fuller defended, God in fact calls even those who are reprobate. In Ezekiel chapter 33, sinabi noon, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked should turn and leave. And then God extends His invitation, turn, why should you die? Well, imagine this. Well, think over this. If the wicked dies in his wickedness, what would he be in terms of God's decree? Reprobate. He is not elect. Yet, God already knows who the non-elect are, and yet God Himself says, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked should turn and live. So isang malaking hamon yan, na tayong mga nangangaral, huwag mong isipin kung sino ang elect. The elect will be saved, but the offer is to all mankind. And every preacher, when he preaches, must so preach that the passion for the gospel is clearly evident. Huwag kang mag-preach na you're afraid you get the wrong man saved. Baka non-elector. Ako pa nagkamali. Ganoon. When Robert Miller Shea was preaching in Scotland, although he died young, but he preached with such a passion that one observer said he was almost dying to have you converted. And that should be every preacher's passion. When he preaches, he extends the invitation of the gospel to all. So yan ang ginawa ng mga Baptists. They distinguish themselves from emerging hyper-Calvinism. So let us consider the differences now with other confessions. What we can say of the 1689 confession is it was totally Calvinistic, but with moderation. Let's make a comparison. This is the Westminster Confession, followed by the Savoy Declaration. Some men and angels are predestined unto everlasting life, and others foreordained to everlasting death. So both predestined and foreordained, whether election or reprobation. Notice how this is changed. And if you are not sensitive theologically, it is easy to miss it. But there is a very deliberate change in the 1689 confession. Some angels are predestined or foreordained to eternal life. Now, the underlined words are the changes. Through Jesus Christ, to the praise of His glorious grace, others being left to act in their sin, to their just condemnation, to the praise of His glorious justice. So what has changed? The first thing that changed is that they made sure that election is still in union with Christ. Hindi to election God simply thought of men He will save. When He thought by sovereign decision who He will save, they are selected, they are chosen still as united to Christ. Hindi nawala si Kristo. And then notice how the language changed when it comes to those who are to be condemned. Left to act in their sin, to their just condemnation. Doon sa Westminster at Savoy, both in terms of salvation, everlasting life, and everlasting death, is both predestined and foreordained. But the Baptists rightly thought that God's treatment of those who will be condemned should not be symmetrical in His treatment of those whom He will save. Those whom He will save is by predestination of grace. But those who will be ultimately condemned are left out in their sin. It's still their sin. It's not they were foreordained to everlasting condemnation, but they were left out. In other words, they acted their own sinfulness, which deserves the condemnation of God. So what we can say here is that the 1689 confession is yes to predestination, no to double predestination. It's not the same predestinating act when it comes to those who are saved, those who are condemned. Those who are saved by the sheer grace of God in Christ. Those who are condemned by their own sin, left in their own sin. So, very sensitive ang authors ng 1689 Confession of Faith that no authorship of sin would ever be laid on the part of God. Then, sa pang-difference, especially with Peter Baptist, is their understanding of baptism. Baptism of believers by immersion. Sabi ng Westminster, the infants of one or both believing parents are to be baptized. So, sa kanila, Kristiyano, binautismuhan, and by the way, yung bautismo nila, sprinkling, pagkatapos yung anak ay considered na rin part of the covenant. and therefore they are also to be baptized. Sabi ng 1689, those who do actually profess repentance towards God, faith in and obedience to our Lord Jesus Christ, are the only proper subjects of this ordinance. So ang tanging babautismohan lang at bubuo sa iglesia ay ang mga mananampalataya. At hindi lamang yun, sinabi nila, immersion or dipping of the person in water is necessary to the due administration of this ordinance. Saan nila kinuha yun? From the simple word baptizo. That is the consistent word used of this membership constituting ordinance of the church. Baptizo means immerse. Kahit saan gamitin niya na konteksto, immerse. Besides, Greek words were available. If they want to say sprinkling, there was rantizo. If they want to say pouring, there was ekeo. So, if they really meant yung ibang mga paraan, sana ginamit nila, but consistently, ang ginamit ay baptizo. And baptizo is a word of mode, not a word of result. Halimbawa, sinabi ko sa iyo, gusto kong maglinis ka, maaaring maglinis ka, mag-shower ka, o magpunas ka, because I used a word of result. Ano man ang gawin mo, basta malinis ka. Pero kapag sinabi kong maglubog ka, I'm using a word of mode. Hindi lang result, kundi mode. Eh, ganun ang ginamit. Kaya nga nang sinasalin niya ng mga English translators, alam nila ang dapat na salin ay immerse, pero nung ginawa nila, hindi nila talaga sinalin. They transliterated rather than translate. Kaya naging baptize. Halimbawa, ang New Testament ay sinimulat sa Tagalog. Every time na dumating doon sa baptism, ang nakasulat ay ilubog. Ilubog sa pangalan ng Ama at ng Anak. Pero nung isasali na sa English, eh ayaw nilang sabihin immerse. Ang ginawa nila, pagsalin, lubugayz. Yan ang nangyari sa baptizo. Salit na immerse, the obvious translation, to avoid the implication, they made it baptize. But baptize simply means immerse. And the result of this in the church, we have a church of regenerate and sanctified membership. Hindi pinababayaan ng mga anak ng mga mananampalataya. May mga ministeryo para sa kanila. But the church itself should be constituted of people who are truly regenerate and evidence the same by a sanctified life. And then, one thing else is the separation of church and state. Sa original version ng Westminster Confession, ito ang nakasabi, the civil magistrate has authority to take order that unity and peace be preserved in the church. So may papel ang pamahalaan. Sila may autoridad, pati sa pagsulong ng misyon ng iglesia. Ang sabi ng 1689 Confession, to each of these churches he hath given all the power and authority which is in any way needful for the carrying on that order in worship and discipline which he hath instituted for them to observe. Nasa iglesia na ang lahat ng pamamahala. Hindi kailangan may manghimasok na ibang kapangyarihan. The church itself is autonomous. The church is independent. It is self-governing. At kaya Baptists thrived in America was precisely because they did not depend on government. They made themselves separate. At isang hinaan natin yan sa mga Baptists ng panahon ito. The church is independent and autonomous. So just reflect on those distinctions. And you can just imagine how propitious for us that we have this inheritance of faith. From Baptists who suffered in the past, now they have bequeathed to us a confession of faith that is worth standing by. And so I want to conclude with our own church. This is Grace Baptist Church of Los Baños, although siya ay nasa Baina, pero we have retained our original name of Grace Baptist Church of Los Baños. We espouse sola scriptura, we espouse sola fide, and we espouse sola gratia, and of course our confession of faith is the 1689 Baptist Confession of Faith, but all of this under the authority of the Scriptures alone. So sana ma-appreciate natin ang pinagdaanan ng mga ninuno ng ating pananampalataya at kung paano tayo ngayon ay may ganitong pananampalataya na hindi kailangan magdusa gaya ng kanilang pinagdusahan. We now have a very well-defined confession of faith, and we should therefore find it our duty and also our favor that we can live out the Scriptures in their full authority with a well-defined confession of faith. Let's close in prayer. Nakilalang Diyos sa aming mga bagay naman. Salamat kami sa ebidensya mo ay ang mga pinagdaanan ng mga ninuno ng aming pananampalataya, mga Baptists noon. Sila ang nagdusa, sila ang naghirap, ngunit sa pamagitan ng kanilang sigasig ay nakapuo sila ng isang confession of faith na maaari namin muling panaliwain, tanggapin. So grant, Lord, we may have the humility to understand what benefits we have from the generations of the past because of their confessions, especially and particularly for the confession of faith adopted by the Baptists in 1689. Grant, Lord, that this will continue to be a guide to us under the Holy Scriptures, and may we be better and be growing churches as a result of what we have learned today. We attribute to you all the praise and the honor and the glory, and grant, Lord, that we may take responsibility for what we have learned today. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen.